The Cincinnati Bengals, yes, those Bengals, have just thrown a live grenade into the heart of the AFC North. And its name is Shedeur Sanders, the rookie phenom, the quarterback who flipped Cleveland's culture upside down. The same Shedeur who already publicly embarrassed his coach on live television twice. The same one who became the heartbeat of a broken franchise. That Shedeur. And now, the Bengals want him. Like, really want him. And Browns fans? They're not just panicking. They're on the verge of rioting in the streets of Cleveland. Let's break this madness down. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. The Bengals lost Joe Burrow to injury, and with it, they lost the one thing they couldn't afford to: stability. Their entire identity, their swagger, their status as AFC contenders. It's all built around number 9. And without him, they're vulnerable. So what do? They skip the usual next man up speech, politely glance at Jake Browning for a split second, and then immediately start dialing around the league for someone who can actually win them games. Not manage games. Not survive games. Win them. Enter Shedeur Sanders, the hottest name in the rookie quarterback conversation. The one who turned down a guaranteed roster spot with the Ravens just to avoid sitting behind Lamar Jackson. The guy who's made it clear from day one, if I'm not starting, don't call me. And now, the Bengals are calling. Loudly. Aggressively. Shockingly. According to reports. Okay, let's be real. Shouting. From every major NFL insider right now, Cincinnati is ready to make an offer. Not a feeler. Not a maybe in the offseason. A real, legitimate offer. Multiple picks. Players, possibly. Everything but the skyline chili. And Cleveland? Suddenly holding the fate of the AFC North in its hands. This is the worst kind of dilemma for a front office. You've got a rising superstar at quarterback. You've got fans finally believing in something. You got jersey sales through the roof, locker room morale at its highest in years, and then comes a division rival offering you a haul of draft capital and the chance to build the team around the system again. Are you kidding me? This isn't just a trade proposal. This is a philosophical test. Because if the Browns say yes, they don't just trade away a player. They trade away the soul of their team. And if they say no, they might be locking themselves into a long-term battle with the Bengals, who now see Shedeur not just as a fill-in, but as the face of their franchise post-Burrow. Think about the stakes here. This isn't some backup QB drama. This is a guy who redefined what a rookie leader could look like in the NFL. The guy who publicly challenged authority, won the locker room, and started winning games. The guy who's already being mentioned in the same breath as some of the league's best young talent. Not because he has a flash, but because he has a command. Shedeur doesn't just throw the ball. He moves the room. And Cincinnati sees it. They're not panicking because of the injury. They're planning for the future. They're looking at the AFC North and thinking, why wait? Why sit on our hands and watch the season go down the drain when we can take the future right now? It's a bold move, a brilliant move, a move that might just break Cleveland. Because for Browns fans, this is a nightmare scenario wrapped in business casual. It's one thing to lose a promising player. It's another to lose him to a division rival with a win-now roster and an offensive system that could elevate him immediately. Imagine it. Sanders in Bengals stripes. Jamar Chase. T. Higgins. Joe Mixon. A high-powered, quick-tempo offense ready to run and gun? Are you kidding? That's not just playoff ready. That's problematic for everyone else. And now the Browns have to make a decision. Fast. Because here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. He holds leverage. Not just because of his play. Because of his mindset. He's made it abundantly clear that he's not going to sit and smile while organizations play chess with his career. He wants to start. He wants to lead. He wants to win. And if the Browns can't promise that, if they start treating him like a trade chip instead of a cornerstone, he's gone. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually gone. And once that happens, there's no getting him back. Let's rewind earlier this season. Remember how Shedeur turned down the Ravens? It wasn't because he didn't like Baltimore. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the city. It was about one thing: purpose. He didn't want to ride the bench behind Lamar Jackson for 3 years waiting for an opportunity. He wanted to build something. He wanted to be the opportunity. And now the Bengals are offering him exactly that. A chance to step in, take over, and be the guy. A team with weapons. A city hungry. A division rival with the perfect storyline. The rejected Browns rookie who became the Bengals king. You cannot write a crazier chapter in AFC North history. And that's what makes this so dangerous. Because no matter what the Browns do, they lose something. If they say yes, they lose the locker room, the culture, the movement that Shedeur brought with him. If they say no, they risk keeping a quarterback who knows he's not wanted and possibly alienating a player who built his entire brand around loyalty and authenticity. It's a lose-lose, or is it? Because what if the Browns double down? What if they slam the door shut on Cincinnati, look Shedeur in the eye and say, "You're not for sale. Not now. Not ever"? What happens then? Shedeur knows his value. But more importantly, he knows loyalty. And if Cleveland commits to him fully, like franchise face-level commitment, they could turn this whole crisis into a renaissance. They could reject the trade. They could take the heat. They could tell the world, "We're done trading quarterbacks. We're done starting over. This is our guy. Forever." And if they do, they won't just win the fan base. They'll win the war. Because nothing sends a stronger message to the locker room than choosing people over assets, than choosing belief over business. The Browns have the chance to be different, to build around the quarterback, not in spite of him, to tell the rest of the league, "You don't poach our future, we fight for it." Or they do what they've always done: take the picks, reset the clock, start another rebuild, and watch Shedeur Sanders become a nightmare in orange and black. The choice is theirs, but the clock is ticking, and the whole league is watching. So drop your take in the comments. Should the Browns trade Shedeur Sanders? Or is this the dumbest move since the decision left Cleveland shaking? And hey, smash that subscribe button, because if this deal goes through, we're going to need a whole series to cover the fallout. Stay tuned. This saga is just heating up. If the Browns trade Shedeur Sanders to the Bengals, it won't just be a loss. It will be a betrayal, a gut punch to the city, an emotional napalm strike on the locker room, a complete unraveling of everything they've been building, finally, painfully, for the last 2 decades. Because let's make one thing absolutely clear. You do not trade your future franchise quarterback to a division rival. You don't. You don't care they offer you draft picks, Pro Bowlers, or the deed to Cincinnati itself. You don't hand them the one thing they don't have. The thing you do, Shedeur Sanders. Because the second you make that deal, you give the Bengals your soul. And for what? Cap flexibility? A couple shiny picks that might turn into the next Shedeur if you're lucky? That's not just risky. That's reckless. That's the kind of mistake that gets replayed for decades. That turns into highlight reels and what could have beens. That becomes a curse. You think Browns fans haven't suffered enough? You think they're just going to accept watching Shedeur Sanders torch them in a Bengals uniform twice a year while they're stuck rebuilding again? Not a chance. You trade him, you lose them. And not just online. Not just in comments and tweets and jersey bonfires. You lose them in the seats. You lose them in spirit. And honestly, you deserve it. Because here's the thing. This isn't just about football anymore. Shedeur has become something bigger. A voice. A movement. A culture shift. He's the first Browns quarterback in years, maybe ever, who made the team feel modern, alive, confident, fearless. And yeah, he's young, but he's already doing things that most 10-year vets dream of. He commands the room. He sees the whole field. He holds coaches accountable. He challenges systems that don't work. And somehow, he still shows up every week ready to compete, lead, and represent a franchise that's barely earned his loyalty. And now you want to trade him? To Cincinnati? To that locker room? To a team that just lost Joe Burrow and is desperate for a new identity? Desperate enough to steal yours if you hand it to them? Let's be blunt. This isn't even about what Shedeur could become. This is about what he already is. A star, a leader, a symbol of hope for a team that's been addicted to hopelessness. And Cincinnati, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't just want a quarterback. They want to hijack Cleveland's entire rebuild. Take the kid who just lit a fire under the city and bring him into their house. Drop him into a system that's already built, already fast, already playoff tested. Shedeur with Jamar Chase? Shedeur running a 2-minute drill in that stadium with that O-line in a must-win game? Nightmare fuel, not just for Cleveland, for the entire AFC North. Because if you think Shedeur's confidence is impressive now, imagine him with actual trust from the front office. A game plan designed around his strengths. A coach who sees his leadership as an asset, not a threat. He wouldn't just succeed. He'd thrive. He'd embarrass teams. And yes, he'd remember. He'd remember who gave up on him, who tried to leverage him for picks, who said, "You're not our guy." And he'd carve that message into every pass he threw for the next 10 years. But let's step back and look at the cold, clinical, business side. Even there, this trade doesn't make sense. Let's say you get a first and a second rounder from the Bengals, maybe even a player. Do you trust this franchise, this one, to draft the right guy? To develop another quarterback from scratch? To reestablish chemistry? Have we learned nothing from the last 20 years of quarterback purgatory? This is the first time Cleveland has had the guy in the building, and he didn't fall into your lap. You drafted him. You earned this moment. Now you want to flip it for picks and pray it works out again? No. You don't throw away your best hand because someone offered you a chance to reshuffle. You play the cards you've got. And right now you're holding aces. You have the best young quarterback in the division. You have momentum. You have a fan base that finally feels like it can stop holding its breath. So what are you going to do? Punish them for believing? Because make no mistake, that's what this trade would be. A punishment. A slap in the face to every fan who bought a jersey. Every player who followed Shedeur into the fire. Every assistant who changed their playbook because they saw what he could do. You don't reward that energy by cashing it in. You reward it by building around it. Shedeur isn't just a player. He's a foundation. He's the blueprint. He's the answer to the question Browns fans have been screaming into the void since 1999. And if you send him across state lines to your most hated rival just because you're scared of a little pressure, you don't deserve to win. Because this moment right here is when real franchises draw the line. This is when you decide what kind of team you're going to be. Are you the franchise that caves under pressure, that trades away talent the second it becomes too big to control, that always plays scared and calls it strategy? Or are you the franchise that fights, that plants its flag behind its guy and says, "We're all in," that builds a dynasty because it chose stability over scarcity? Look, the NFL changes fast. Quarterbacks rise and fall. Rosters shift. Injuries happen. But when you get a real one, a quarterback who has the game, the mind, the leadership, and the charisma to carry a franchise, you don't trade him. You protect him like your life depends on it. Because your franchise's life absolutely does. So Bengals, nice try. You saw the opportunity. You made the call. You push your chips in. But Cleveland, if they know what's good for them, they hang up that phone and never answer again. If the Browns go through with this deal, if they actually send Shedeur Sanders packing to Cincinnati, they might as well change the name of the franchise to the Mistake by the Lake permanently. Etch it in stone. Wrap it around the stadium. Put it on merch. Because that's what it would be. The single most self-sabotaging, unforgivable, legacy-torching move in modern NFL history. And that is not an exaggeration. Let's talk about what this really means. Because it's not just a quarterback trade. It's a referendum on everything this franchise says it wants to be. They want to be respected, feared, relevant. Then why? In the name of all things dog pound, will they hand the Bengals a loaded cannon pointed directly back at them? You don't send your golden ticket to the enemy just because the ride got bumpy. You don't trade the guy you built your hope around the moment he started acting like he actually wants to win. You back him. You support him. You double down and let the fire burn. That's what smart franchises do. They recognize that greatness doesn't always show up in a perfectly wrapped box. Sometimes it's loud. Sometimes it's demanding. Sometimes it calls out your dusty old playbook on national TV. But if it wins, if it unites a fractured locker room, if it inspires belief in a city that's been gasping for it since the Clinton administration, you protect that energy at all costs. Let's pause for a second. Think about what this move would actually do. The Browns trade Shedeur to Cincinnati. He shows up with a chip on his shoulder the size of the Ohio River. And what happens next? He dominates. He elevates that offense to playoff-level speed overnight. He becomes the media darling the league has been waiting for. He turns into Cleveland's worst nightmare. Every Sunday, every divisional game, every matchup in front of a national audience, he becomes that guy, the one who got away, the one your team let walk, the one you gave to a rival so they could embarrass you for the next decade. You want that? You want to live in that version of the timeline? Because let's not pretend this is some abstract risk. This is Shedeur freaking Sanders, son of a Hall of Famer, mentored since birth in pressure, poise, and performance. He's not a fluke. He's engineered for this. He's not just a highlight reel. He's not just swag and sound bites. He's already outplaying veterans, already thinking like a field general. And what does he want? A chance. That's it. Not a handout. Not special treatment. Not the face of the franchise billboard. He just wants to compete, to start, to prove it on the field, not in the media. And you're going to trade that to a team whose quarterback just went down, who needs someone to take the reins and keep their window open now. There's no way to spin that. There's no way to package that as a smart move. You don't give oxygen to your rivals. You starve them. You suffocate them with your own talent. You make them panic, not the other way around. And make no mistake, that's what this is. The Bengals are panicking. They're desperate. And frankly, they're smart enough to make a bold move when they're cornered. But that doesn't mean you have to help them. Let's talk locker room. What message does this send to the rest of your team? That speaking up gets you shipped out? That daring to want more wins, more accountability, more ambition, makes you expendable? Do you think the veterans are going to respect that? Do you think the young guys coming up are going to want to go to war for an organization that sells its brightest hope to a rival the second things get uncomfortable? You lose Shedeur. You don't just lose a quarterback. You lose buy-in. You lose the fire, the urgency, the edge. And guess what? You don't get it back. Because no one's going to trust a front office that traded away the only guy in the building with the guts to say what everyone else was thinking. That trust? Once it's gone, good luck rebuilding that. And it doesn't stop there. You think the fans will just eat this? Cleveland fans have been through enough. They've endured everything. Losses, scandals, false dawns, quarterback after quarterback, coach after coach. And then, finally, they get someone who brings a little swagger, a little belief, a little hope that the old Browns might be dead, and the new era is here. And what do? You ship him off to Cincinnati. That's not just betrayal. That's villain origin story level betrayal. You thought burning LeBron jerseys was dramatic? Wait until you see the Shedeur fallout. And you know the wildest part? You don't even need to make this deal. You've got a guy under contract. You've got the most momentum you've had in years. You've got a city behind him. And somehow you're thinking about giving all that up for picks? We've seen this movie. We've seen the stack assets storyline. And you know how it ends? Another rebuild. Another 3-year plan. Another season of watching someone else's quarterback live out the dreams that were supposed to be yours. Don't do it. Don't be the team that blinked. Don't be the team that couldn't handle the heat. Don't be the team that gave the AFC North's next superstar to Joe Burrow's replacement plan. Be the team that drew the line, that stood up and said, "No, we're not trading our future to fix yours. You broke your window? Find your own glass. We're keeping our quarterback, our momentum, our belief, because you don't get many chances like this. Most franchises never get one. But you have it right now. And if you give it away, you'll regret it for the rest of your days." Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you trade Shedeur to the Bengals? Would you hand a rival the keys to their next dynasty? Or would you hold the line and make them sweat for a change? Subscribe if you haven't already, because if this deal goes down, we'll be covering the fallout with popcorn in hand. Stay loud, stay loyal, and stay tuned, because the Browns' next move will define everything. Think about it. This is one of those moments, one of those rare history-defining, you had the choice turning points, not just for the front office, but for the city, for the entire identity of the Cleveland Browns. For decades, the story has been the same. Hopeful draft pick, short honeymoon, confusion, decline, blame, trade, rinse, repeat. But this time, it doesn't have to be that way. You got a quarterback who isn't just talented, he's transformational. Shedeur Sanders didn't come in to play it safe. He came in to change the culture, to speak truth, demand better, and raise the bar. And the craziest part? He did it in months. He didn't wait until year 3 to take the reins. He didn't sit back and nod to conservative game plans or keep quiet while the offense stalled out week after week. He challenged it, head on, live, on ESPN, twice, and now, instead of rewarding that drive, the same drive that makes Super Bowl QBs who they are, you're thinking of sending them away? To Cincinnati? No. That's not just a bad move. That's legacy-altering stupidity. If you trade Shedeur, you don't just help the Bengals. You turn them into monsters. You give them another generational quarterback to replace the one they just lost. You hand-deliver your rival the weapon they need to dominate the division, and you lose every shred of credibility in the process. Do you think Bengals fans would let their team trade Burrow to the Browns if the roles were reversed? Not in a million lifetimes. Because they understand the basic rule of football warfare. You don't arm your enemies. So why would you let fear dictate a move that hands away your future? Why would you fold a winning hand because someone else called your bluff? This is your chance to break the cycle. To say, not this time. To stand by a player who actually has the fire to lead, not just with his arm, but with his voice, with his standards, with his belief that Cleveland can be more than just an underdog story. He's not asking for special treatment. He's asking for the opportunity to lead the team he's already lifted. Give it to him. Keep him. Build around him. Because if you don't just lose a player. You lose the locker room. You lose the city. And you lose the one shot you had at finally turning this franchise into the powerhouse it could have been. The choice is right in front of you, Cleveland. Make the right one. And don't look back.